Welcome in to the PHLY Phillies soon-to-be post-game show podcast. I think Renee taking a big old swig of white wine there speaks for all of the Delaware Valley and Phillies fans beyond and the way they're feeling right now. But welcome in. This is the PHLY Phillies post-game show, Red October edition, which is brought to us by our friends at Ace Hardware Home Services. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. All right, quick poll of the room here as we start the top of the ninth. Anybody have any confidence they're going to come back and win?
No.
Tonight, no. This series, also, my optimism
I'm also a no.
Yeah. Guys, I hate to say it. I'm nervous for the series now.
Oh,
I know it's just one game. But
no, I mean, the negative part of my brain started saying the series is over.
Well, the unfortunate part about a 5-game series is when you drop game one, you now have to go win 3 out of the next 4. And taking 3 out of 4 against any team is a difficult task. Taking 3 out of the next 4 against the team that's playing as well as the Mets currently are is an even more difficult task. I mean, you unfortunately had to win this game today because you had an opportunity with everything was lined up for you. We talked about it in previous shows where your rotation was set, your bullpen was rested. Zack Wheeler was absolutely freaking phenomenal today, and you gave him nothing to show for it.
And we know the history: 7-0 when the Phillies win the first game, and they don't win the series when they drop the first game. Obviously, all rules and history can be broken at some point, but to your point, Tyler, in a 5-game series, you don't have a lot of room for error and mistakes.
Small sample size.
We've already been seeing in this playoff start. The Orioles are a great example. We've seen it so far when teams drop a game where their ace comes out and has a really strong pitching performance. That's a must win. You have to go on and give them that run support. You cannot go into this game like today and the leadoff home run's all you have and nothing else happens offensively. So my optimism, unfortunately, I said I was wide open. I said I wasn't nervous. I wasn't excited. This was like 2 days ago. Well, that quickly switched because after today, I'm super nervous and I don't even know. The series is definitely far from over, but 5-game series does not give you a lot of room for mistake.
There was one at bat in this game that broke me.
Oh. And
it took me immediately back to the headspace last year of the NLCS game 6 and 7. It was Nick Castellanos' at bat, and I want to say the 4th. I'll have to go double check that in my notes. But he tried to golf swing a ball that bounced off the plate. He's your cleanup hitter today. How many cleanup hitters do you see around Major League Baseball dip and try and golf swing one off the plate? Not many. The book is out on the Phillies of let them kill themselves. Don't throw them a cookie in the zone, which Senga did to Kyle Schwarber, and ball go boom. Outside of that, they started slopping them up. Peterson came in, started slopping them up. And the Phillies, they started chasing again. And that at bat really, I know it's not like all on Nick Castellanos, but like it just took me immediately back to that Arizona series. That was brutal.
Well, you cannot have Kyle Schwarber go. It started off, well, he's 2 for 4 now, and everybody else on the team has had zeros. Bryce Harper and Nick Castellanos just got a hit in the bottom of the 8th. It took that long for somebody outside of Kyle Schwarber to actually get a hit. And when you have a day like today with how well Zack Wheeler is pitching, I actually feel like if he didn't put up such historic numbers, I know we're going to get into all that at some point, this wouldn't break you as bad. But to see him literally go out in 7 innings and throw 111 pitches and be phenomenal and have all this history made, the Ks, the 30 swings and misses,
Ooh,
and
what a throw by JT.
Him more run support at all. To me, that's where I feel like I'm most discouraged. Like, you see your teammate go out and put the team on his back and do everything he can to be
safe.
His velocity was at a high. All the things, everything that Zack Wheeler could have done was perfect.
He's out. He's out by a mile.
Give him. So
yeah. Renee, it's funny too. Like there were.
Sorry, I'm reacting to this.
I see you.
Brutal call right here.
He walked 3, he gave up 1 hit, but he was impeccable. And he got a little bit of help. Don't get me wrong. I think the ump helped him out a couple of times. Like the one at bat to Jose Iglesias, it was 2-0. He threw a sinker on the hands. Borderline call, probably should have been called a ball, but it was ruled a strike. Changes the complexion of the at bat. He gets Jose Iglesias to roll over onto 1, rolls up a double play, gets out of the inning. That was like the big danger inning for the Mets there. Zack Wheeler was sensational today from the jump. From the jump all the way up to his 111th pitch, he was great today. 11 for 11 in the first inning in terms of strikes thrown. What do you get? 30 swings and misses in this one.
30.
And you could tell, obviously throughout the game you could tell how good he was. But the fact that he gets into a little bit of a jam there in the 7th, and you know they're getting guys up, and Hoffman's getting warm, and Strom's getting warm. But Caleb Cotham didn't even go out. Caleb Cotham didn't even go out to go talk to him. That's how much confidence they had in Zack Wheeler. That's how much confidence Zack Wheeler had in himself today, that he knew that he was going to be getting out of this jam. And I think he believed it, and everybody in the stadium believed it. This was one of the best Zack Wheeler starts of the season. And I know he had a complete
of
game
his career.
I know he
his career
really, since joining the Phillies, a few years ago now. This may have been his most complete, dominant, just in utter control from the jump performance. You score 1 run, it comes quickly, and then you get complacent. I mean, and Jamie, you talked about it. There was a lot of bad swings and misses, a lot of chasing. You brought up the Castellanos at bat, the one that I'll go to. It was the bottom of the 4th. Zack Wheeler had kind of labored for the first time. It was the inning that Iglesias rolled into the double play.
Mm-hmm.
He had kind of labored for the first time in this game. Alec Boehm comes up and swings at a bad pitch, first pitch. He's out on 1 pitch. You have to see some pitches there you have to just have the cognitive whereabouts to understand. My guy just threw like 22 pitches. He got out of it. He was in control, but you have to be able to sit there and realize, I need to see some pitches. I need to give my guy a chance to get back to the dugout and get a breather.
Yeah, it's like when a football team doesn't run the ball after the defense just got off the field after 19 straight plays. And you're like, what the hell? Why didn't you run the ball? They're going to need a breather. Same thing in baseball. Real quick, a super chat from Real Time with Prince Blue. He says, this team is just vibes, no substance. Look, talk to me after this series is over. If what I think happens and the Phillies go out early, I will 100% agree with that statement. Like I will be sick of the camaraderie, the comebackness, like whatever, very talented players. But game 6 and 7 did real damage to me last year. This Phillies offense is really causing some brain trauma to me. It's hard. It's a hard watch right now. This offense is just not good enough. We'll get into the historicness of Zack Wheeler's performance tonight. But imagine what he's like right now, watching this back in the clubhouse or in the dugout, wherever he is. That's got to be torture.
Well, we've seen this already. I know we talked about it pregame, and I brought up
Marsh, by the way.
I brought up the 0-3. The 0-3 start to the season for Zack Wheeler was the same frustrations that he actually was. He's had so many games this season, and you could even look at the last start against the Mets in the regular season, and tonight where he has gone out and been phenomenal and has gotten no run support. And I know we've got Mets fans in the chat. Rafiq Lewisan is. I know you're a Mets fan. There's a few others that are in here. Listen, the Mets.
Rafiq, hit that thumbs up button while you're in here for us, pal.
The Mets are a team that you cannot let linger. And I was hoping that the Phillies.
And that's all the Phillies did.
I was hoping they would have learned from the Brewers' mistakes and even the Braves. You look at that doubleheader, that insane Game 1 doubleheader against the Braves, while the 8 runs the Mets scored between the 8th and 9th inning. Then they went out and did the same thing against the Brewers. You look back, Game 1, it was a total of 5 innings, 5 runs in the 5th against the Brewers Game 1, 4th in the 9th against the Brewers, as we know, Pete Alonso's 3-run homer. And then they had 5 runs in the 8th tonight. You cannot let the Mets hang around. You have an incredible starting pitcher in Zack Wheeler, as you mentioned, doing everything he could. You have to find a way to squeeze out something. And it did feel like it went right back to home run or bust, chasing pitches, no discipline at the plate. And I don't even know where the offense was. Again, it was only Kyle Schwarber that had a hit up until the 8th inning. That's unacceptable. In a game 1 at home with the way that Zack was pitching, you cannot afford to have this happen. Very frustrating that this is how the Phillies kicked off Red October. You're muted, Tyler.
You're muted, Tyler.
That would help. That would help if
Yeah.
I actually tried to talk and, actually worked my computer properly. I tweeted this from the account, the PHLY Phillies account earlier today. I almost give them a slight pass in the first 2 innings because Kodai Senga's ghost fork is one of the best pitches in baseball. We've talked about it all year leading up into the season. I know he didn't pitch a whole lot this year, but it's one of those devastating pitches. And it's just it fools hitters out of the hand way more than just the Phillies tonight. So the first 2 innings, I can give a little bit of a pass to, but here's the problem. Over the course of the first 7 innings as a collective unit, this team had 1 ball hit over 100 miles an hour. They had 3 balls hit over 94 or more. They had 6 hit over 90 or greater. They weren't even making good contact. This wasn't a case of, running into outs, unfortunate running into outs where you hit one on the screws and you hit it right at Mark Vientos, right? Alec Boehm hits a liner and it's right at Vientos at third. Or you hit a ball, in the gap and Brandon Nimmo makes a nice play. Or you hit a ball back up the middle and Francisco Lindor has the range to make the throw turn and spin and make the throw and you get an out. They weren't putting good contact on the ball today. And, the chase rate was high. And I bet you if we go back and look at it at the end of the game today, their hard hit percentage is going to be low. Their barrel rate's going to be low, and their chase rate is going to be high. You can't win. No team can win when all 3 of those things are true at once. You can maybe survive a low barrel rate because you get a little bit lucky, right? That's what BABIP comes into play. You can maybe survive a high chase rate if you run into a couple of pitches, put a couple balls over the wall or hit a couple gappers and put up a crooked number in 1 inning. You can maybe survive a low hard hit rate. Again, BABIP exists for a reason. You can't survive all 3.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we're all, the quiet parts we don't say out loud is that this is just a return of last year. Timeliness, this Phillies offense. I know a lot of people in our chat have been consistently saying it throughout the year. Shout out our guy Triz in the Discord, who's always like, this offense. Lisa, I know, was tweeting us tonight and saying her 12-year-old has better approaches at the plate. It's brutal. I'm at the point where tomorrow I might try to shake something up a little bit. I know it's not a overreaction to 1 game, but maybe I give Sosa a shot. Maybe I give Weston Wilson a shot. Whether it be Austin Hayes starting in left, whatever. I think something has to just kind of get minorly tweaked here, so you just don't go out lifeless. This is just... I can't believe that we're here after game 1. I feel exactly how I did after game 6 last year.
And that's the frustrating part. We've seen this before. This is not new.
Yeah.
It actually, and to your point, like there were points in the game where you could start to see it trending and like, oh no, are they really about to do this to us? Are they real? And it just slowly kept feeling like at some point, someone's going to wake up. Someone's going to give you a good at bat. Someone's going to make that play that kind of changes the tides for the offense. Because again, Zack was great. And even the Mets, you pointed out the fact that nobody had hit over 97 miles per hour. Only one person, Francisco Lindor, had hit over 97 miles per hour for the Mets. They also had no hits. I mean, at one point, collectively between both teams, they were 3 for 33 with 12 Ks, 7 walks, 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position in the 6th inning. It was not a good offensive game for either team. But the difference is the Phillies had the lead and you had the opportunity to put them away and did not. And we've seen this before. We saw them up in the NLCS against the Diamondbacks and let them linger and lost that series. We've seen the offense go cold and have no response. But to your point, Jamie, pregame, Rob Thompson mentioned he was going to be a little bit quicker with some decisions out of the dugout, making some pinch hitting decisions, wherever needed, not waiting as long with having a Weston Wilson, Cody Clemens, and Mundo Sosa, Austin Hayes, whoever. He kind of alluded to being quicker to pull somebody off the bench, yet that did not happen. And the reality is you're going to drop today because you're into the bottom of the 9th, down 6-1. You can't afford to go down 0-2. That's a season. you have to try something tomorrow because this is not working. And
yeah, and Rupert in the chat says, this has everything to do with just their plate discipline, plain and simple. It does kind of feel like it's a simple.
And we've seen this though. This is not new. They did this the entire second half of the season after the All-Star break.
Well, and I don't know if you guys noticed it too. It was very evident from the beginning. Now, granted, he does have a hit, the double down the line later in the game. It was very evident from the beginning. They just don't. They're gonna pull the tactic that teams did last year. They're just not gonna pitch to Bryce Harper. That's the strategy.
That's what I would do. Would you do something different?
No,
Tyler. I would junk ball this team up all day.
Yeah,
I would just keep stuff right out of the zone. Go ahead and chase it, idiots.
9 consecutive pitches he saw in his first 2 at-bats. 1 was in the strike zone. He didn't take the bat off his shoulder in his first 2 at-bats, back-to-back walks. And you're basically saying, hey, somebody else beat us. We respect Bryce. We understand that he is kind of your catalyst in the middle of your lineup. He's the guy that can change the game with one swing of the bat. And we're going to make somebody else beat us. You saw it last year in the NLCS. The Diamondbacks did the exact same thing. And the Mets did it today. And he ended up, like I said, with the double down the line and later in the game. But, it was pretty evident from the jump that, hey, we're just not going to throw you any strikes. Hey, if you swing at it, that's great. But we know your plate discipline is strong. And for Harper specifically. And if you walk on 4 pitches, you walk on 5 pitches, we'll go get the next guy.
Yeah, now Christopher Sanchez gets thrust into a very difficult spot tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's take a minute to tell you about some of our friends here. And that includes our friends at Blue Chew. Hopefully you've heard about Blue Chew before, because if you want to bring your best in the bedroom, you should be looking for Blue Chew tablets. Use the code ALLCITY for the first month free with a $5 shipping. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost. We all like that in this economy, and in a chewable form. The process is simple. You go to bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made right here in the good old US of A and prepared and shipped directly to your door. And the best part is it's all done online. You don't have to go to a doctor's office. You don't have to feel shame about it. With the Blue Chew, once you bring in your best in the bedroom. So that means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at a pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead and be ready whenever the opportunity arises. You got a little weekend away with the missus. You want to be at your best. Get the Blue Chew tablet. And we've got a special deal right now for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use the promo code ALLCITY at checkout. Just pay $5 for shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code ALLCITY, ALLCITY, to receive your first month free. And I know you're going to love it. So visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast.
Such a pro's pro talking about some Blue Chew. I know in the chat.
That can take my mind off the Phillies. You know what I'm talking about, Renee?
Yeah, well, you know what can also take your mind off the Phillies? Some nice, cold, refreshing Miller Lite. I think we could all use that right about now. Pour yourself a drink, crack open a can, because with Miller Lite, you don't have to worry about choosing between the great taste and the low calories. It's the great taste and less filling, a light beer that actually tastes like beer, guys. Less filling with only 96 calories, and the original light beer since 1975. And we need to make sure that we're enjoying some refreshing Miller Lite with the exciting moments, but also with the moments like today, where we are frustrated and we are talking about the Phillies dropping game 1 of the NLDS to the Mets in a game they should have and could have won. So when you want to have these moments that you can sit back, relax, or take the edge off, make sure you're checking out Miller Lite. Because with Miller Lite, it's both. It's everything you're looking for with a light beer that gives you that great taste. And you also have the opportunity, as Miller Lite keeps it simple. They've got the undebatable quality. They've got the great taste. And they strip away everything you don't need that holds on to what matters most. We need that right now. Hold on to the important things, guys. Like the fact you can also get Miller Lite delivered to your door. That's right, because you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. It always tastes like Miller time. And to get Miller Lite delivered to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY Phillies, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Make sure you do celebrate responsibly, though. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces, fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer with Miller Lite.
How
Jamie,
many
are you?
That's me going to MillerLite.com and BlueChew.com so I can forget all about this Phillies baseball team. Because that's a good way to take
how
my
much
mind out.
Miller Lite are they allowed to deliver to my door?
Yeah.
Like
and they bring me a keg.
What's the mass quantity amount that they will say, no, we will not deliver that? Because I want to get
the most amount of Blue
just
Chews and how much
that.
Miller Lite?
No, I was waiting for that. We're moving along here because I cannot with you guys.
Well, it's 6-2 now, guys. It's 6-2.
It is 6-2. We did get a run scored. Thank you, Cody.
Another run.
Guess you guys, Cody Clemens. Oh, big surprise that Cody Clemens pinch hitting for Johan Rivera comes in and gets the RBI.
Tyler, Barbara Carroll says, Tyler, I'm worried. Would you like to speak to Barbara and maybe try to make her feel better?
No, I mean, I would like to. I speak to Barbara, but I'm not going to make her feeling better because I'm worried too. This was a very discouraging game.
If we didn't see Game 6 and 7 last year, are we as worried? If that wasn't a real thing that we went through,
I saw them go 500 after the All-Star break. No.
You both spoke there.
Are you asking under the pretense that like they win the game against Arizona and they go to the World Series again?
No, just that it never happened. They weren't a playoff team and they're coming in like kind of fresh slate.
Yeah, I mean, still probably there's expectations for this team.
I think Game 6 and 7 ruined me.
No, it was also the fact they went 500 after the All-Star break and continuously had zero offense at times, and the lineup was just so up and down.
Yeah, MBBDF says the hot team wins, not the best team. It's like the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's legit. I mean, how many times in baseball has the team with the best record over 162 games not won the World Series? Probably an awful amount of times. The Phillies know that in 2011. So, yeah, like I don't want to say I poo-pooed it because I did recognize the Mets were hot and coming in. And after it's probably, is it over?
It's officially over.
Yeah. Okay, good. I kind of feel like old Yeller. I was begging for the bullet. Let me look forward to tomorrow.
Oh my God.
I mean, once that 7th inning happened, I was like,
that old Yeller.
Take me out behind the barn and put me down. I don't want to watch these last 2 innings. Jeez.
Not old Yeller catching strays.
Yeah, I mean, once that 7th inning happened, I was like, well, they lost. The series is probably over. Sports are stupid, and I hate it here. That was my mindset. What was your guys' mindset?
Well, my mindset was first like, Zach, do you have a couple more innings in you? Because I think that's the only way.
So Renee, Addie, my family chain was like firing on all cylinders, cousins all over the place. And Addie goes, why couldn't Wheeler just go out and throw 125 pitches? And my one cousin was like, honestly, well, Tommy John surgery is probably the reason.
To be fair, once I saw how Jeff Hoffman came out, I kind of was like, I know this is not practical and doesn't exist. Any chance we can put Zach back out there? Maybe he wasn't done yet. Maybe needs another inning in him. Listen, you could just see this slowly falling apart. And I think the NLCS was where it started last year. But the second half of the season is what continued it. That this feels like it's become the identity and almost expectations of this team. That they're going to let you down.
They're tight. They're
going to let you down in key moments. They're going to make all the right plays and moves. And then all of a sudden you're going to get caught off guard and it's going to swing. And the moment you start to get excited and optimistic about this group, unfortunately, you have days like today. Leadoff home run, we're talking about the history. 7 great innings, we're talking about the history of Zack Wheeler. And then all of a sudden, the game becomes a whole Mets game where now the Mets are cheering and scoring and winning the game. This is frustrating. It's a wasted opportunity, and you cannot afford in any professional sport, especially baseball, with a 5-game series like this, to squander opportunities to win a game. You had to win this game. 7-0 when you win game 1. Incredible game by Zack Wheeler. You have to win this game just for the sole purpose, if nothing else, because Zach literally left it all out there on the mound. So it's just frustrating because it feels like, is this the identity of the Phillies? Is this the reality that they're a team that just gets right to the doorstep and falls short? Like the Buffalo Bills of football, or whoever else you want to compare them to. It's just a little frustrating because they had the talent, but they keep defeating themselves.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the offense collectively across the board, it was pretty anemic. We talked about it, right? You basically are you could pick a name, right? Pick any of the names that you want to pull out of the hat, and for the first 7 innings before they scratch out
Trey Turner and Bryce Harper.
Trey Turner to me. Trey Turner
Those
to me,
are problems.
Trey Turner to me had the worst day of the entire group. Now I know that there was. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say this is like a one-man show. This is beholden upon the entire offense that struggled mightily throughout the entirety of the game. I thought Trey Turner's at-bats were the worst of the bad. I thought he was he just felt lost today. It was swinging out of hand, down and away breaking balls that just weren't even particularly close. Again, this is a collective failure of an offensive performance from this team. But if I were to say, hey, pick somebody that you thought was just the worst of the worst, I thought Turner was terrible today.
Yeah, he was atrocious. I want to get to another super chat here from MBBDF. They lost their magic. MBBDF. They lost their magic in London and haven't been able to recapture it. You got to be the hot team in September and October. Unfortunately, there's no recipe to cook up from a managerial or organizational standpoint to get hot in September. But, there's enough of a sample size out there that, the hot team coming into the playoffs is probably the scariest team. And that's what you're facing right now. And that's what makes it so brutal is just Zack Wheeler goes out there, and we'll get into the historicness of his start and how good he was. And Pete Alonso, Zack Wheeler is officially your daddy. He was so good. And the offense just couldn't manufacture anything. Even if it becomes 2 or 3-0, it's a totally, totally different game. And to see them squander that from Zack Wheeler really just stings. Come on. And, I know some people in the chat are saying, you can't play Rojas. I kind of agree that Rojas isn't the issue here. You need Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, and Alec Boehm to be badasses. You need that, or you're not going to win anything. You're certainly not going to get out of this series. Trey Turner and Bryce Harper are everything. They're the highest paid guys. They're the $300 million guys. Kyle Schwarber did his part getting that stadium into it. I thought it was going to be over once that happened, but you need your heart of the order, 2, 3, 4, 5, to come up and produce runs for you, because Nick Castellanos golf swinging a ball off the plate in the 4th inning as your cleanup hitter. I don't know why that just went up my ass and is just but the heart of the order, it's, Johan Rojas is what he is. I'm not going to sit here and harp about him. I'm not going to harp about Brandon Marsh. It's 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to win games with 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it.
Well, and that's why Rob Thompson said he actually was okay with starting Johan Rojas. He had talked about it on Wednesday with us in the press conference, and he spoke about it a little bit today as well, is that in the lineup, he wanted to have a balance of some guys that are strong. I know. I was going to let you rock because
up my ass.
I'm going to just let you cook with that. I'm not going to comment on that between Blue Chew and everything else.
A bug up the ass, not something else up the ass,
Yeah, no. But anyways, I will say for Rob, he's looking at this lineup with the expectation that everybody's going to contribute. And for Johan, his contributions on the defensive side. We saw that. We've seen that. You're not expecting him to be a guy that's going to help generate and score runs for you. That's the top of your lineup. And to see Trey Turner go 0 for 4, Bryce Harper the 1 hit on the day, Nick Castellanos with his 1 hit, Alec Boehm 0 for, you can't have that. And the craziest part about it is, for as bad as the offense was, and I agree, Trey Turner really struggled, for as bad as they were, so the Mets struggled too. They were just as bad. 3 for 33 into the 5th inning, guys. Into the 6th inning, combined between the Phillies and the Mets. 3 for 33, 12.
I don't even know, real quick, Renee, I don't even know if I'd call him bad. I just think that's more Zack Wheeler being dominant.
Yes, exactly.
The announcers, as soon as Wheeler went out, I'll give them credit. They were all over it. And my wife was watching it with me, and she goes, why are they acting like the Mets already won? And I was like, because Zack Wheeler's out of the game. That is such a load off their shoulder. and everything changed. And to see Jeff Hoffman, a guy who's been so spectacular this year, Matt Stramo, Ryan Kirkering, your heart and soul of that bullpen come in and nobody could get it done. It's so deflating.
We just saw this with the Milwaukee Brewers with Devin Williams. You need to give your pitching staff some support. I don't care how great they are. They cannot be continuously going to the mound with just a 1-run or a 2-run lead. This is a copy paste of Game 3 against the Milwaukee Brewers, where the Brewers had the Mets up 2-0. They're still kicking themselves all the way into the offseason. And Devin Williams, who'd only given up 1 home run prior, gave up a 3-run homer to Pete Alonso because why? The Brewers offense did not do enough to put the game away. The Phillies did the exact same thing today, took no lessons from that game apparently, and literally came out and rolled out, here you go, same exact game, same exact blueprint. And you're right, it wasn't about the Mets offense being bad. It was Zach being fantastic.
But they got a sense of being back in the game as soon as he got pulled. The announcers were talking about it. You could see it. The body language.
And my eyes would be lighting up too.
They felt as though they had life.
So, Renee, I am in lockstep with everything you just said. Can I show you guys a graphic of one of the Mets pitchers in particular? Is it
going to hurt?
It's going to hurt. So
I'm in a bad state right now, Tyler. I'm about to go chug some bourbon upstairs.
I'm going to try to play over the box here so you can see my face. This is Reed Garrett's pitch. This is Reed Garrett's pitching chart today. I know it's tough to see because it's kind of small.
Wait, let me see real quick, Tyler. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 strikes?
What? That's exactly what my point I'm trying to get at. What do you guys notice in this graphic? Look how many pitches are outside of the zone for Reed Garrett today.
8 strikes. How many total pitches is that? Look at the one on the plate. Is that the one Castellanos swung at?
He ended up throwing. I'm trying to find it for you to get the exact number of how many pitches he threw. But my point of this whole conversation,
they slopped him up.
He threw 23 pitches. 8 of them were in the strike zone.
That was on purpose.
Of 20. Of course it was.
The Phillies can't not chase. And I don't know how you fix that in a series. I don't think you do.
It's been years. It's been 84 years.
It's been
The Phillies have to do a better job of fixing some of these mistakes. And the reality is the season's on the line. Tomorrow's a must-win game. We're going to continue talking through what we just witnessed for Game 1. But first, want to make sure to tell you guys about our friends and handle some business really quickly.
Stand on that business.
Standing on business, guys. Let me tell you about our friends over at Trumark Financial Credit Union, because let's say if you are traveling, hopefully for a Phillies many games that are away on the road for the Phillies, or anything else that you're traveling for, with Trumark, they have a mobile app. And Trumark Financial's mobile app gives you the opportunity to access your account anytime, anywhere. You can check your balances, you can view transactions, you can make transfers, pay bills, and much more, all from the convenience of your mobile phone. Plus, you have the opportunity to add your cards to your mobile wallet, which means when you get to the cash register, you can just tap and pay and go. And with the mobile app, it also gives you the convenience of being able to track all of your spending. I love convenience. I love the ability to have all of my spending easily accessible on my phone, but also Trumark Financial Credit Union, they have other benefits, such as their mortgage specialist. Let's say you're planning on buying a house for you and your family. They have mortgage specialists that can offer guidance on loan options and terms. They'll help assess your finances and credit score to determine your borrowing capacity, and also help you save for that down payment and closing costs. And regardless if you're a Phillies fan or all the Mets fans that are coming in here, with Trumark Financial Credit Union, they have their rewards Visa credit card. They've got better rates, lower fees. They also have other benefits for you as well, of just the convenience of knowing where your spending's going and being a shareholder and being involved in how you're saving your money and how you're investing for your future. So Trumark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. For more information, head on over to trumark.com/PHLY to get started today and check out all the great benefits that they have at Trumark Financial Credit Union.
Yeah, and let me tell you, unfortunately, my next client and I, not on the best terms right now. Bet365 rudely took some of my money tonight. I threw in a Zack Wheeler, Bryce Harper home run, long shot parlay. I took the Phillies to win, and I found out why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. And right now with code PHLY365, you can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 with Bet365. They're the best. They pioneered live in-game betting. So take that $200 in bonus bets. There is an expiration on that. So make sure you're keeping an eye on that. But you can use that on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. They have the best early payout offers across sports. You'll find out why, whether it's Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, or NBA. If you hit the certain criteria for the early payout offer, you don't even have to wait until the final results happen. Boom, you'll get paid out right there on the spot. Tons of custom boosts and parlays. Keep an eye out for our PHLY custom boost bets that are up on the site every single week. And it's not just ours. Bet365 boosts over 10,000 bets every single month. They boost specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. So keep an eye out for ours. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign in to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. To all the Mets fans that are in here, because I see you.
So many.
Your team is mid. I'm going right at your throats. Your team has caught the magic. And I hope that the Phillies can stop the magic. That team is ass. Screw all these Mets fans in here, Tyler. That team is ass.
You have no ground to stand on today. The Phillies.
I didn't play in the game. That Mets team is mid. That Mets team is mid, and there's 4 more games to go.
So I'm going to turn about what the Phillies did wrong, not what the Mets did right.
Renee, what have we always said? The biggest team we fear the most in the postseason is the Philadelphia Phillies, not the New York Mets, not the Milwaukee Brewers, not the Dodgers, not the Padres. We feared and this is why it sucks, because everything we were afraid of happened. And the Mets are going to continue to junk ball them, and that's fine. That's what I would do if I was the Mets manager. But it's going to hurt if they lose to this mid team because the Mets suck.
I don't think you can do this right now.
I'm doing it, Tyler. I just said it.
Wants all the smoke, Tyler.
I said it.
Jamie wants all the smoke. We have all these Mets. The Phillies just blew a game to the Mets.
Just hit the thumbs up button when you're in here, Mets fans. All right.
You can't do this right now. I'm like, this team came into
Tyler. It happened. I can't dump. This isn't radio, man. I can't hit a dump button. It's out there. I said it.
Bank Park, and despite the fact that they were shut out by one of the best pitching performances we've seen in probably the last decade in the postseason, they battled to a 6-run inning and claimed a game that they absolutely probably should not have won if it weren't for the ineptitude of the Phillies offense. You don't get to do that. The Phillies got crushed today. The Mets were the better team when
just because the Mets are mid doesn't make the Phillies like less sucky. Like the Phillies suck tonight. I'm just saying that team is not that good. They have the magic right now. I'll give them that. But that team, come on.
The difference is that
I wish them all the worst. All you,
they were the better team today, and they've been.
I will say, guys, as much as we talk about how things changed negatively for the Phillies since like the London series, we can say the opposite for the Mets. Since the London series, splitting that series with the Mets, they honestly have been a completely different team. And I think the biggest difference is the resilience has been there. They are a team that's similar to what the Phillies had in their first half of the season as their identity, a team that responds, a team that's handling adversity, and a team that you cannot count out. The Phillies were that. That's why they had, in the first half of the season, all the success, but also the ability to mix in small ball, grind out wins. Right now, the Phillies are really, if it's not on for one, it's not on for like many of the guys. Whereas it used to be, okay, one guy is going to always step up and kind of lift the rest of the team along. Right now, the vibes aren't there, and they're not able to make any in-game adjustments. I kind of felt like after that leadoff home run, you can honestly say, like, definitely by the third, fourth inning, I was like, no, this is just the Phillies offense is not going to score. We have to hope they can continue to hold the Mets scoreless. They're not going to be able to score runs. So I do feel like
what's everyone's favorite flavor of bleach?
For the Mets, the difference is they've done a better job of answering when they get knocked down to have the like backs against the wall, that they step up to the challenge. And
Philly wishes it was NYC, Sam.
They need some of that blue collar, I'm going to do whatever it takes to help us win this game mentality. And today, Zach had that, Kyle had that, but that is literally it. Who else for the Phillies showed up? Who showed up? Nobody. And so while the Mets also, I won't say they're this fantastic team, but they are a team that right now is figuring it out. They're grinding out wins. They're doing enough. They're playing small ball. It was single, sack fly. It wasn't home runs. It was them having small ball mix into their offense and being able to capitalize on the fact that Zack Wheeler is no longer pitching. So shout out to them, because your eyes should light up when the ace steps out of the game. I wish the Phillies had some of that too. And now I'm a little nervous going into game 2, because you have to expect them to answer back. And it's another year of the same struggles from the Phillies.
And by the way, Renee, you bring up the that inning. Obviously it was a crooked number inning, and that's that's a gut punch to any team. But what the Mets did in that inning, especially in the first couple of bats to get the inning rolling, they had they went down in the count 0-1. Hoffman had all 3 of the hitters that he faced, the first 3 hitters that he faced, down in the count 0-1. They had multiple two-strike hits. They had their 2-strike approach was really, really good. Jose Iglesias battled off of I forget if it was Kerkering or Strahm, but Iglesias had like a 10-pitch at bat and just grind it, and ended up with a productive at bat out of it. That inning showed you probably a little bit of a glimpse as to what this Mets team has done for the last probably 6 weeks now. And when we talked about it, they're a good baseball team, and I don't think nobody should have been saying that they weren't. I think that would be a foolish endeavor. It's a good baseball team, but what they did tonight was it is.
They're trash.
They're proving
their city's full of rats.
But
Rat City.
But it was not just a productive inning because they hung a crooked number on the Phillies. It was a productive inning because of the fact that they had some really, really, really strong 2-strike approaches. They got down. They weren't a couple of at-bats. It felt like you might get buried. There was an at-bat. Jeff Hoffman had a guy 0-2. I think it was Francisco Alvarez. He had him 0-2. Went to the breaking ball. Francisco Alvarez did a good job of lifting it and continuing the inning. It was a good inning for the Mets. And I think Mets fans will probably sit here and tell you Wheeler deal. I think we can all agree Zack Wheeler might have been the best player on the field tonight. But they came up with a couple of timely hits when they needed to, and then continued to string some things together. It was a good inning for the Mets.
Yeah. Single walk, single sack fly, because I tracked it. I was taking notes of it. That is how the Mets were able to squeeze out runs. It wasn't even pretty, as the Philadelphia Union just give up a goal themselves. So it's just not a great day for Philly sports right now.
Sports are stupid. That's been confirmed. Yeah, we know that. Sports are very dumb. All right, let's. All right, I'm down bad. You're down bad. We got people from Rat City, Manhattan, and Queens telling us all sorts of stuff. That's fine. Zack Wheeler was great tonight. The Mets are going to have to see him again. Okay, so that's probably going to be game 4, especially after losing game 1. Obviously, you can't get swept. But Christopher, let's throw some more flowers at Zack Wheeler real quick, because what he did tonight was special, and unfortunately, it's going to get lost in all of this. But what Zack Wheeler did tonight was freakishly good. 30 swings and misses is absolutely wild. Zack Wheeler is now the only pitcher in postseason history to have multiple starts of 7+ scoreless innings without allowing more than 1 hit. His 30 swings and misses, they were the most against the Mets since the stat has been tracked, dating back to 2008. He beat out Max Scherzer's 17 strikeout no-hitter in 2015. There's 9 more than any other starter recorded against the Mets this season. Let's see what else. He was the first person to throw at least 111 pitches in a postseason game in 4 years. The last was Tyler Glasnow in 2020. Zack Wheeler, enough can't be said about him tonight. I don't want his performance to be lost in a otherwise pathetic offensive night for the Phils. Zack Wheeler, truly a special night. I would hate to be him right now, because it's probably torture between his ears.
Yeah, there's so many things that you can say about Zack today. And I know in the chat, you guys are giving a nice Queens and New York update of locations and the different boroughs and everything. Listen, Zack Wheeler.
Just hit that thumbs up or thumbs down, guys. I don't care. Just hit something.
Zack Wheeler
interact with the YouTube algorithm,
30 swings and misses. I mean, the history, I know you just outlined a lot of it, Jamie, for what he was capable and able to do today. So now with 12 career starts in the postseason, a 2.18 ERA, that 70 and the third inning pitch, and then also tied Cole Hamels for Phillies franchise lead in the postseason for 77 strikeouts with the 9 Ks that he had today. He also became the only pitcher to have multiple starts of 7+ scoreless innings without allowing more than 1 hit in a postseason in history across Major League Baseball. He's not only making Phillies history today, he also made Major League Baseball history. That's how great this performance was for him.
Oh, yeah, and his Major League
11 pitches. It's
playoff
insane.
whip, Renee, it dropped. Like, that's wild.
Wild. Well, also on top of that, so the most recorded swings and misses by any Phillies pitcher prior to tonight in a postseason game since 2008.
Halladay, right?
Halladay did it
23?
twice with 19. Zach had 30 today.
30 is insane.
30 is insane.
How do you blow that game?
How do you blow this? Well, then what makes it worse is when you get deeper into it, the fact that his fastball averaged 98.3 miles per hour in the first inning compared to 95.3 on the season. He threw his 4 fastest pitches all season in the first inning. Oh yeah, and then he increased that and touched 99. He hadn't reached 98 since May and hadn't reached 99 since September of 2022 in the World Series. And Zack Wheeler did all of that tonight. All of that. He literally gave you everything. And that's what makes it so painful that he was able, even down to the 7th inning, he was still reaching 97, 98 miles per hour. In the 7th inning, over 100 pitches at that point. His pitch count, he did a good job managing it, of 11 in the first inning, and then it kind of was up and down throughout the next 6, but he still got in and out of each inning. The everything was there. Everything was there for Zach. The command was there. The sweeper, I should say. The slider was there. Everything that Zach needed to give you, he gave you. And the best, honestly, not only for him, but one of the best postseason performances you can really look at outside of like a complete game. And I wish he had gone a complete game at this point. But for Zach to then come off and say, listen, all of that, testament to JT Realmuto. In the dugout, giving an interview, talking about it's JT Realmuto that called a great game, and I just went out and did what I do best and locked in on what I know how to do. And it's so, so sad that despite a historic performance by Zack Wheeler, there's so many numbers and things that he was able to accomplish tonight. His 111 pitches, the most by any pitcher since Tyler Glasnow had 112 in Game 1 of the 2020 World Series. That's the most that we've seen by any pitcher in the playoffs. And all of this excitement, unfortunately, just gets completely overlooked because the Phillies could not score more than 1 run prior to the 8th inning.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of conversation about, him after 7. He was at, what was the number? I believe 115 pitches he was at. A lot of conversation of like, do you run him back out there for the 8th? And I think the answer is pretty easy to come up with. The answer to me was no. He was outstanding in this one. You have a bullpen that's been one of the best bullpens in baseball all year. We've talked about it. They rank amongst the best in the league in terms of including, I think it's them, Cleveland and San Diego have 3 of the best bullpens in baseball. At some point, you just trust your guys, and you went to one of your guy who's been probably your best high leverage reliever all season long in Jeff Hoffman. It didn't work out tonight, right? Hoffman got hit around, and then Strom got hit around, and then Kerkering got hit around, and it was just, those are your 3 high leverage guys that are kind of the bridge to or the gap between the starter and Estevez in the back end. It didn't work out today. I'm not going to say that to run a guy back out for an 8th inning after throwing 115 pitches is the right move. But he was special today. He was dominant from the jump. I think there was a couple of times where he was throwing pitches that were in on the hands. He threw a couple of pitches to Starling Marte that were
one hit him in the forearm.
Well, and that's the thing. The one
ended up under his hands. Yeah.
The one ended up hitting him, but he was trying to get up in under his hands to kind of jam him a little bit. There was a lot of purpose to his pitches today. There wasn't a whole lot of wasted momentum. There wasn't a whole lot of wasted effort. Like we said, the one inning in the 4th, he threw a lot of pitches. He was able to get the double play, probably thanks to a little help from the umpire. But you take the help that you can get. His 7th inning, he threw a decent amount of pitches, but gets out of that one as well. Strikes out Alonso to end the side. I think there was a lot of purpose. There was a lot of conviction behind Zack Wheeler's start today. He gave you 115 pitches. He struck out as many as he did. He got 30 swings and misses. He went 7 strong innings. At that point, you should feel comfortable turning things over to your bullpen to get you 6 outs. It just didn't happen today.
Yeah, another super chat here from Dom Adams says Hoffman's been leaking oil. Check his end of the season stats. It's not a bad point. I have noticed he hasn't been as good lately as he has been all season. It's unfortunate because, this bullpen, the Mets bullpen sucks and the Phillies bullpen is good. And you did not see those results tonight. And real quick, I want to introduce ourselves to all of our friends from Rat City. 80 miles north of here in Manhattan and Queens and everywhere else. I am the dork in the hat. My name is Jamie. This is lovely Renee to my left, and that is Tyler. So to all of our friends from Rat City, welcome into the show. I appreciate you being here, guys. All right, now tomorrow, Christopher Sanchez. Okay, what do you got? You got more Rat City talk?
No, I have more. Just a little more.
Sabaro's the best pizza slice in New York. What were you gonna say?
Some more on Zach, and we actually have a couple more super chats I want to make sure to hit on before we move along because they do fit to this game and not to tomorrow's conversation. But for Zack Wheeler, so tonight, as we talked about him reaching 99, this was the 8th time that Zack Wheeler has thrown pitches 99 plus miles per hour over the last 3 years. And all but one of those pitches have happened in the postseason. We talk about being dialed in, locked in when it matters most. His best pitches, those 99 mile per hour pitches, are coming in postseason moments. World Series, Game 1 of NLDS tonight. It's been Zack Wheeler that's been able to step up and be fantastic. He also has the lowest postseason opponent's OPS of any starting pitcher since Blue Moon Odom back in the early
old Blue Moon Odom. Who can't forget that year in 1912?
Innings of 39 pitches.
What year?
Phenomenal work.
Do you have the year on that, Renee?
No.
All right, I got to look up Blue Moon Odom real quick.
The early 70s. I don't know the exact.
Was it early 70s?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know the exact year, but the
He's
early
79
70s.
years old. Good for Blue Moon. That's a great name.
Oh, wow.
Blue Moon.
That's a great name. Yeah.
I had never heard that one before in the fun baseball player discussion.
Blue Moon Odom's quite a name. Now up Blue Moon.
That is strong. Yeah.
Did have a career high in swings and misses. Of course, also the 4th time in his career that he's been able to reach 32 starts in the regular season, his lowest whip, and all that carried over into tonight. We knew what to expect from Zack Wheeler with his historic numbers that he's been putting up at the end of the regular season with those 11 consecutive starts of 2 or less runs. Did it again today. But unfortunately, as Ishmael is saying, as a super chat, can the Phillies just get on base and stop looking for home runs? That was said a lot earlier in the show.
Was there any walks tonight? Was there one?
Was a stretch.
Yeah, somebody got on. Rojas walked.
Remember, Harper walked multiple times. They weren't throwing.
Yeah, Harper had 2 walks.
Right. And then somebody else walked, right?
JT had 1, and Johan Rojas.
Yeah, okay.
Had 1.
All right, so like 4 or 5. That's something. Real friendly word of advice. Sorry. Go ahead.
We have another super chat.
Okay.
Yeah, Demon Slayer said 2 more weeks in the season, and Philly wouldn't be in first. So.
Well, okay. I guess. I mean, yeah. Thank you, Damon. The Demon Slayer. To all of our friends up in New York, I know there's like a rat infestation up there. So if you need to get to your Ace Hardware True Value store to get some stuff, maybe some steel wool to block up all the rats, Ace has got everything you need, and they'll even come to your front door. So we, of course, are brought to you by Ace Hardware Home Services. Head to acehardwarehomeservices.com. All right. Mets fans, everybody in the chat here is kind of getting me in fight or flight mode where I don't feel as bad anymore.
Started this.
Yeah, good. I hate New York. I hate the Mets. I hate everything about them. The whole city stinks. So good.
So
good.
And
now the back's
salty,
against the
ignorant
wall.
Philly fan sounds like. We're not
good.
all. Listen,
Good.
I went into this very open-minded. I knew the Phillies could let us down. I had 0 expectations for this exact reason because I didn't want to get my hopes up.
That's fine. Who cares? Don't get hurt. The Mets love shitting their pants. This series is not over. Mets fans have put me in the corner. My back is against the wall. The series is not over yet. This is an unserious franchise. All right? The Phillies may suck real bad right now, but we're not the Mets. And tomorrow, Christopher Sanchez gets thrown into a massive spot at home. He's going to be going up against Luis Severino, let's take a look at their numbers versus the Phillies. In his career, he's 2-0 against the Phillies in his career, with a earned run average of 2.84. So Severino has had some success against the Phillies. And on the mound is Christopher Sanchez going up against the Mutts. Christopher Sanchez in his career, 2-2 with an ERA of 3.62 with 41 strikeouts in 9 appearances versus the Mets in his career. Christopher Sanchez, we need you, buddy. You got to go out there with this crap offense we have right now. You got to keep this one under a number of 3. They're throwing you at home because your splits aren't as good on the road. You're going to have Citizens Bank Park behind you. People will lick their wounds and get up for this by tomorrow. You got to go out there and give, probably after what we saw from the bullpen tonight, 6 innings of 3 or less runs. You need Christopher Sanchez to stop the bleeding a little bit tomorrow. So
this is no disrespect.
And that sucks for Christopher Sanchez, Tyler. Like, that's a tough spot to be in.
This is no disrespect to Christopher Sanchez with what I'm about to say, because you're right. His splits have been significant, and they're noticeably different at home than they are on the road. This is why I probably would have waited to announce a Game 2 starter for this exact reason. We talked about this on Friday. Should the Phillies lose Game 1, I think you need to be able to confidently turn to a guy who's pitched in playoff leverage situations before. Again, no disrespect to Christopher Sanchez, but I think in this regard, now knowing, again, and hindsight's 2020, now they're down 1-0 in the series, but there was a plausible chance that they did lose Game 1 if they didn't hit, or maybe Wheeler got roughed up. One of those two things happened. Wheeler was great. They didn't hit. They're down 1-0 in the series. I think you not to say that you're in a disadvantage with Sanchez because he's pitched well at home, but I think you should have considered this a possibility and considered Aaron Nola in Game 2.
All right, here, Tyler, let me throw this at you. What if Christopher Sanchez goes out there tomorrow and deals in the Phillies offense?
And it doesn't matter.
Look, I was going to say, that's what it comes down to.
But you don't want Christopher Sanchez. Then all of a sudden, Game 3 becomes the pivotal game of the series, right? Like, I'd have to look at Fangraphs odds of what the Game 3 winner is in a 5-game series. So if you can go out, you're putting your guy in the situation where he is better. If you can go out and have Aaron Nola on the mound in Game 3 where his pulse isn't going to move a little bit up in shitty field, that dump of a ballpark, then it flips it. That's a little bit of an advantage, and that's probably what Rob was thinking. He probably wasn't thinking you lose the Wheeler game, but having Aaron Nola on the road over Christopher Sanchez, to me, if you can pull out tomorrow, that's a big plus for the Phils.
Yeah, I mean, if you win tomorrow, it's an entirely different conversation you're having. Of course it is, because then you go to a Game 3.
So go do it.
You trust
That's simple, right?
And again, you see it in the chat like 10 times. None of this conversation is a moot point if this team doesn't score offensively. They were
sure.
That's the whole overarching conversation of today's game is this team didn't score.
Stephen A, your ballpark's a dump.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. Let me jump in. Leave them alone. Stop it, Jamie. Down, boy. God,
I'm having fun. It's bringing me back to life, Renee. It's giving me hope and optimism.
Be better, not bitter. It's just
it's New York.
At the end of the day, we knew for a fact there's going to be a Game 3. And so I actually still do not mind the announcement for Christopher Sanchez starting tomorrow as the NLDS Game 2 starter, because regardless, I think you kind of anticipated the Phillies might split the first 2 games. Ideally, you're 2-0, but there's potential you could split. And unfortunately, now there's a potential you could be 0-2. So regardless, you knew come Game 3, it's going to be a big moment on the road at Citi Field. You're going to need somebody that can go into a hostile environment, and Jamie's making them even more rowdy and hostile.
Hey,
and
James,
be able to handle all the chaos.
Dumbo in the I
am still okay with Aaron Nola starting Game 3, even with this being a 1-0 or 0-1 series in favor of the Mets, I should say. But I will also say, to the biggest point, Christopher Sanchez, Zack Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez pre-All-Star game have been pitching so well. That has never been something I actually was nervous about. All season, I can honestly say I have never been nervous about the pitching. Did they have their games where they each had hiccups? Absolutely, especially Ranger as of late off the IL. But ultimately, this offense has to score runs. Yes, we've talked about pitching wins you games, wins you playoffs, wins you championships, but you need to be able to score runs. And if the offense is only going to be able to score 1 run a game, you're not winning the NLDS. Forget NLCS, forget the World Series. You're not getting out of this series. I don't care who you're playing because there are too many good baseball teams. The Cleveland Guardians put up 5 runs in the first inning. That's how you start a game. 5-0, they went on to win 7-0. That's how you kick off a series against the Tigers. The Phillies had that. Kyle Schwarber goes up, gets a leadoff home run. There's some incredible numbers behind that leadoff home run in general that we haven't even talked on. Some more flowers that need to be given out. You have to continue off of that. You can't have everyone's on their feet. Rally towels going. You're 1-0. You've got you just came off a great 11 pitch counts first inning for Zack Wheeler. You can tell from the first inning that Zack Wheeler was dialed in. You had the 1-0 lead. You have to pounce on that. So I don't care who's starting game 2 for the Mets or for the Phillies. To me, who's going to actually show up for the offense? Because you have Kyle Schwarber, who had his hardest hit home run since game 1 of the 2023 NLCS with that 115.8 mile per hour home run, his 21st in the postseason, which is the most by a lefty in Major League Baseball history. Kyle Schwarber also, with that, put himself in some incredible categories. Most home runs in postseason history overall. Manny Ramirez with 29, Jose Altuve with 27, Bernie Williams with 22, Kyle Schwarber with 21. And his 5 leadoff home runs are the most in Major League Baseball history. You have all these, everything was lined up in the first inning. But the sad part is we could have changed the channel after the first inning and came back in the 8th inning and missed nothing. Because the Phillies did absolutely nothing offensively between the first and then decided to score a pity run late to make it 6-2. So I'm not worried about the starting pitching matchup. I know we have a pregame show tomorrow to talk about it more. I'm worried about this offense. They need to show up tomorrow and actually be able to get hits, singles, sac flies, walks. I don't care what they do, bunts, something instead of 1, 2, 3 innings.
Yeah. Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Alec Boehm, and Nick Castellanos. We need you guys. You can't have bad at bats. You can't. Look, postseason baseball comes down to punishing the few pitches a game you need to punish. And the Mets have no reason to throw the Phillies strikes right now. That's the reality of the situation. So you're going to have to immediately, I don't know, maybe you spike the coffee pot with some Adderall tomorrow. Maybe you meditate tonight and think about not chasing pitches and discipline. But unless the Phillies show a discipline at the plate tomorrow, it might not change. Now, look, the Phillies have been down bad. We've seen games like this from them before. They can come back tomorrow and look like today never happened. And I don't want to go to bed angry. Mets fans have given me life. I feel good. I think Christopher Sanchez is going to show up at home tomorrow. The question is, will Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Alec Boehm, and Nick Castellanos in the heart of your owner give you something? And I don't have the answer to that. I'd love to feel good about it. I wish I could. I don't. But those 4 guys in the heart of your order, because Kyle Schwarber showed up tonight. I'm not going to lump him into it. They need to show up and produce for you. They need some singles. They need some doubles. You don't need to swing out of your shoes and try to put one on to Ashburn Way. So, show up and get some singles, guys. That's baseball.
Yeah, I just think that ultimately the offense has to be there. We talked about it all season, and now here we are. It's Red October. We've said this. It's come to the top of the order. It is frustrating that Johan Rojas doesn't give you more productivity offensively. That's not his role on this team. It's got to come from outside of Kyle Schwarber, who did his part tonight. It has to come from others. Bryce Harper, as you mentioned, Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos, you need to show up tomorrow. But overall for this team, I think if they split, if you could have told me they're going to come out of the first 2 games of this series split 1-1, regardless of where that win happens or how it happens, honestly, I will take that. I think the Phillies, if they obviously tomorrow's a must win, but that resets everything. If you can go into game 3 with Aaron Nola on the mound, having a split series, yes, it'll be on the road. Doesn't matter. It's playoff baseball. You're going to play on the road. It's going to happen. So they have to go out tomorrow and split this series. It's honestly,
the series over if you don't win tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, it's over. You have to win tomorrow.
Hey, I think you're probably right in the regard, because you and I talked about this on Friday, and like this was always going to be one of those like knockdown, drag out type series. These are 2 teams that have played each other a ton. I think they're probably, two teams that have potentially trended in opposite directions. The Mets have their arrow's been pointing up for 6 weeks now, for 8 weeks now.
That's why I wanted the Brewers.
And so if you come out of Citizens Bank Park with a split, of course you then have to. The next task is to leave Citi Field with a split. So there is a game 5 because, I picked this to go 5. I think, Renee, you and I were talking about it. I think you may have as well yesterday or Friday or Thursday or whatever it was.
Yeah, I thought it was going 5 also.
This was always going to be, I think, a series that went back and forth. The problematic piece arises if your offense is anemic and lifeless, there's no back and forth to be had. If there's one offense that shows up, this is a quicker series than most people think, regardless of how good the pitching's been. So, and that kind of gets back to that conversation about Sanchez versus Nola. If Sanchez pitches well tomorrow and they secured 3 hits through the first 8 innings, none of this matters anyway. You trust Christopher Sanchez. I think you should trust Christopher Sanchez. I've done nothing but sing this kid's praises and the maturation process that he's put together over the course of this 2024 season. He's deserving of making a playoff start, and he's earned Rob Thompson's trust. Again, it comes down to your top 6, the guys that the guys that have kind of gotten you to where you were at this point in the season, for better and for worse at times. Through cold snaps and through the higher portions of the season. But it's if you're going to end up with 3 hits through 8 innings, none of it matters anyway.
Yeah. So tomorrow's going to be something because the emotional well-being of a very large fan base hangs on Christopher Sanchez's shoulders tomorrow. And the bats, frankly, you're not going to win a game. You're not going to win many games 1-0, even with a good bullpen on paper like the Phillies have. I feel bad for Jeff Hoffman, to come in after a season and a career-saving reclamation to come in and every bullpen arm tonight let up a run. Like it was just pretty much awful. And that one inning took like what felt like 55 minutes. It was like a very slow waterboarding, and it was terrible. So the bats, they got to show up tomorrow. Christopher Sanchez has to keep him in a game, and the bullpen. Let's spin zone this a little bit here. The bullpen can't be that bad again, right?
Well, again,
right?
I think the issue
this
is
where you say yes, Renee. Yes, they got it out of the system.
No, I think the issue is you should not have to just rely on your bullpen all the time. I know that's their job to come out.
Well, that's what playoff baseball is.
Yeah, but on the other side of it, how many innings did you have to score, to do something offensively? And now you have Jeff Hoffman come out, and again, it was single walk, single sack fly. Like, yes, they gave up hits. First 3 guys for Jeff Hoffman got on base. You're giving up. They each gave up runs. It was not good at all between Hoffman, Strom, and Kerkering. But your offense has to show up. And it's the same thing with the Brewers blaming Devin Williams. Yes, it's easy to say that one guy, that one pitch that you threw a change.
The Brewers lost the game when they couldn't pounce on Edwin Diaz.
And your season's over. But there are so many things that happened leading up to that moment for Devin Williams, who's been fantastic. The bullpen for the Phillies has been really good this season. Did they have a drop-off when they were overtaxed and overused? Absolutely. But bigger picture, they've been one of the best bullpens across Major League Baseball. But you can't continue to call on them with a 1-0 game. It's the 8th inning, and you haven't scored more than 1 run, and that was your leadoff home run. So the Mets were already trending in the right direction because they knew at some point Zack Wheeler was coming off the mound, and they were waiting. They were licking their chops, waiting for when Zack Wheeler was done pitching, and the moment he stepped off, the entire game flipped. So while I want to blame, you can point to and blame the bullpen and know they should not be as bad tomorrow. The offense is what it comes down to. The pitching through the first 7 innings did their part, and that's Zack Wheeler. The bullpen has to, of course, help, but the offense does too. All 3 things have to be there. So yes,
sure, you can if you want to. If again, Hoffman wasn't good, Strom wasn't particularly good, Kerkering wasn't particularly good. There is blame to be posted on the bullpen. Don't get me wrong, and they're not blameless to the fact that they lost this game. I'm not going to if there's an order of blame to be handed out, the offense gets the first slice of the pie. They probably get the first 2 or 3 slices of the pie. I continue to use the word anemic because that's what it was. It was an anemic offense. You don't win games scoring one meaningful run. You guys just talked about it. The Brewers jumped on Jose Butto for back-to-back pitches to make it 2-0. They got complacent. They lost that game because the Mets didn't give up in that game, and Devin Williams wasn't particularly strong. Who do you blame? Do you blame Devin Williams, or do you blame the Brewers offense for not scoring for 8+ innings?
I blame the Brewers offense not taking advantage of the
end. Both can be wrong. Like the bullpen, that is their job to come out and throw scoreless innings. I'm aware of that. But on the other side of it, it's also the offense's job to go out and score, period. Correct. Like both can be wrong. The bullpen struggled, and the offense was non-existent outside of Kyle.
What was the final number on men left on base? Was it 11? Because I know it was 9 through like 5 or 6 there tonight, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, you can't leave 10+ men on base and expect to win a lot of playoff games. Look, watching playoffs all week, having been a fan of playoffs my entire life, these games are different. You know, the runs go down typically. So while, yes, you need to capitalize when men are in scoring position and on base, you also need a bullpen to stop bleeding for you. And unfortunately, the Phillies got the opposite of that. But I'm going to go ahead and say the bullpen can't be worse going forward. I do not think Matt Strahm, Ryan, Jeff Hoffman, and all these guys are going to allow runs like that on the regular. So, Christopher Sanchez, go keep this team in a game tomorrow. I'm going to neuralize myself and pretend like this offensive performance didn't happen. Tomorrow is a fresh day. Get on base. Don't leave men on base. Baseball's a simple game. Just put the ball in play and go win a game. So that's going to do it for us tonight here. We're going to be back tomorrow at 2:30 with a pregame show. I believe we're going to be doing a watch along as well. So if all of our new friends from Rat City up north want to hop in our watch along tomorrow and join us, you're more than welcome to. Philadelphia is a thriving metropolis with not a rat problem like you guys. Your baseball team stinks. I hate them. I hate you all. Tyler's dying inside as I say this. But I appreciate all of your time in here enjoying the chat tonight and enjoying our show. Yes. Screw the Mets. Screw them. Even if they win this series, I'm still going to be saying screw them. So never back down to those cowards. Yeah. Well, to everybody, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. The series is not over. As bad as it feels right now, the series is not over. It's a 5-game series. Renee and Tyler, you both predicted it was going to go 5. You lost game 1, which is an important one. You win game 2. Game 3 becomes the series. So there's still a lot of hope here, and it all starts tomorrow. Thank you to Ace Hardware Home Services for bringing you this post-game show. We'll see you tomorrow for a pregame show. Right? You guys going to feel better by tomorrow?
I don't have a lot of optimism, to be honest, for the series. Like, I'm not going to lie. Listen, the reality, and I know we're wrapping up. We'll talk about it more tomorrow pregame. You got to win game 1. Every team that's been sent home right now has had the same issue of having their ace, Corbin Burns. Where are the Orioles right now? We can pinpoint a lot of teams that had their ace put out a phenomenal performance, did not give them run support, and they're home. The Phillies, I'm a little nervous for right now because the Mets are feeling themselves. The confidence is there, and they know they're headed back home with a chance to possibly close out this series. They're coming for blood tomorrow. So I'm
sure half the Mets fans in this chat are probably half Yankees fans too. The Yankees are losing, so screw New York.
The Mets should be feeling themselves right now. They've played some really spectacular baseball.
Don't end the show throwing flowers at the Mets, Tyler. What is this?
The reality is they've been a really good
I'm responding to your question.
Then lie. We're not throwing bouquets at the Mets. All right, that's it for us. See you guys later. Bye.
Don't do that.
I will say it could be worse. It could always be worse. The Dodgers are without Clayton Kershaw, and they're probably going to get smacked by the Padres.
Tyler, we're not ending the show talking nicely about the Mets. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to allow it.
The Mets are a good team right now. The Phillies are not.
Don't say anything nice about those people. No, Tyler. No.
The Phillies better show up tomorrow, but we'll be back for a pregame show. We will show up to tee it all up and preview the matchup.
Screw the Mets. This series just started. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
Thanks for checking in.
We all silly like the mayor.